Welcome back to a Munchausen's Proxy, where a video I did a while back is coming back around to be proven true. So far, at least. Disney Marvel has been trying to get a Blade movie up and running since they got the rights to the character back from New Line Cinema in August 2012. By May the next year, a script was done, but it was sat on until the beginning of 2019. When Oscar-winning actor Mahershala Ali approached Marvel about taking up the shades and the sword as the titular Dhampir. He was already featured in the Netflix series Luke Cage as Cornell Cottonmouth Stokes back in 2016. Kevin Feige hit the stage at Comic-Con in the summer of 2019 to announce Ali as the star of their upcoming Blade reboot. Ali also wound up with an uncredited voice cameo as Blade in the Eternals movie in 2021. 2 years after being announced, a writer was hired to work up a script, the original Disney Marvel script being abandoned apparently. Stacey Osai Kaffour, a woman with little of note in her filmography aside from being the writer on a single Watchmen episode and a bunch of other single episode credits, was chosen. By this point, Marvel was well into the habit of casting their writers and directors, so the choice of Osai Kaffour might have more to do with her lack of dangly bits and overabundance of melanin than her actual writing talent. Later that same year, a director, Bassam Tariq, was tapped to helm the project. Like Osai Kaffour, his filmography is less than impressive, being mostly shorts and documentaries, with a single feature film to his name, and was probably brought on board for his ability to tan and membership in a religious minority than his skill as a director. Mere months later, Tariq was gone, supposedly due to the fact that Blade was being moved back on the production schedule and, wait for it, creative differences. In November 2022, a new director was announced in the person of Yann Demange, a French director of Algerian descent who also lacked an impressive filmography, but ticked boxes for Disney Marvel. Michael Starbury would replace Osai Kaffour as a writer, and, you guessed it, his filmography was less than impressive too, including a mere 23 episodes of television, most being from the entire 20-episode run of Legends of Chamberlain Heights, an adult animated television sitcom that focused on teenagers who are benchwarmers on a high school basketball team who have overinflated notions of their own talents. It was sparsely viewed and mostly known for showing Kobe Bryant surviving a helicopter crash 3 years before it actually happened, only with a less happy ending for Bryant. Controversy of a minor nature erupted over it, and the creators of the show made sure to announce on social media their desire for people not to share the episode, out of respect for Bryant. Cue the Streisand effect, which I'm sure was totally not their intention. But Mr. Starbury would not last, at least by himself. Another writer, Nick Pizzolatto, was hired to help with the script in April of 2023. He did not last either because he ticked no boxes or had actual writing creds of a significant nature. In November of 2023, a brand new writer was hired to write a brand new script. Michael Green, another writer with significant writing credibility in both television and movies, also lacked box-ticking abilities, but by this point Disney Marvel have finally cottoned on to the fact that they killed the superhero genre by producing shit show after dumpster fire after train wreck since Avengers Endgame. So maybe this writer will wind up sticking around. But writers and directors have not been the only problem with the Blade reboot. The first problem, of course, was due to COVID shutting down almost all of Hollywood in 2020. Once production started up again, Blade wound up delayed again in June of 2022, probably due to the fact that they were wrestling with the aforementioned script because it was shortly after that when Bassam Tariq left the project. In September of that year, stories began circulating that Mahershala Ali was not happy with the direction of the project. I have a video from the beginning of October 2022 wherein I discuss the production issues and my prediction of how this film was going to go. It was titled Blade is Going to Be Shit, and the link for that video will be in the description below if you want to take a look at it. Ali was frustrated that Disney, Marvel, and Kevin Feige just couldn't seem to get the project off the ground. It was shortly after these rumors made rounds that Disney announced that Blade was keeping its release date, but that production was being pushed back to January of 2023. Everyone who knew anything about the movie industry knew this meant that there was no way Blade was going to make that November 2023 release date. And it was only a few weeks later, in mid-October of 2022, that Marvel shuffled around its Phase 5 release slate, with Blade among those being moved back. At the beginning of 2023, Disney Marvel finally announced that Blade would begin production around the end of May. A couple of months later, however, word leaked that Mahershala Ali was demanding script changes, reports coming out that there were only 2 lackluster action scenes in the whole movie. Given more recent reports on the script, that is not surprising. Despite the problems to date, in April of 2023, Mia Goth of horror film X fame was brought onto the project, leading some to believe that the project was finally getting off the ground. Then the strikes hit. On May 5th of 2023, The Hollywood Reporter announced that Blade would be one of the many projects to be shut down due to the writer's strike. Since the actors joined them shortly thereafter, Blade has been stalled for months. And just a few days ago, the shit hit the fan blade, if you will. Yeah, sorry about that. A Variety article hit the wire that opened up on multiple problems with Disney Marvel of late. Likely, this comes as a response to the recently released book titled MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, which was an exposé book detailing some of the behind-the-scenes happenings at Marvel since its beginning, cutting off with the arrival of Phase 4 problems for the studio. Among the bombs dropped in the article was some Blade news, including that, quote, the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Blade was relegated to the 4th lead, a bizarre idea considering that the studio had 2-time Oscar-winner Ali on board, unquote. Apparently Ali was ready to ditch the project altogether when Kevin Feige finally saw the light from the nuclear explosions being generated by Disney Marvel at the box office, and not in a good way. He decided to scrap everything and start over with Blade, hiring the aforementioned Michael Green, the Oscar-nominated writer of Logan. Guesses are now being proffered that Blade is looking at a 2025 release date and will be made for under $100 million. The Paramount Plus South Park special tearing Disney, and Kathleen Kennedy especially, a massive new orifice, is probably a contributor to Variety, one of the establishment show media in Hollywood, turning on their masters and biting them where it counts. That Disney Marvel has gotten its collectivist head crammed so far up its own ass that they thought taking one of the first real Marvel Studios successes and the movie that kicked off the superhero genre in force, Blade, a movie that launched Marvel's first real franchise, and turned it into a movie about 3 women imparting life lessons on a crowd that Marvel should know will be mostly male, just goes to show how screwed Marvel has become. In their push to find that elusive modern audience, they have completely forgotten why Disney bought Marvel in the first place. Comic books are and always have been a male-targeted medium. That is not to say women and girls don't like comic books too. They do. But they like them as they were. Not as Hollyweird and the activists decided they should be in the modern era. There is a reason the American comic book industry is not only dead, but happily shoving its former customers over to the Japanese-dominated manga. And for reasons I have never understood, Disney Marvel looked at the desolate wasteland that is their publishing wing and thought, you know what would be a really good idea? Let's take all of the bad ideas and terrible art that is killing our comic books and put all of that on the big and small screens. Most of what has come out of the MCU since Endgame comes straight out of the characters and stories that have repeatedly failed for Marvel Comics, and with the same results. Blade is a badass character who kills vampires. It is that simple. As soon as I heard they would be including Blade's daughter, a character from the same era as gems like Miss Marvel, the current iteration of Captain Marvel, Captain Falcon America, Lady Thor, and Miles Morales, I knew Blade was going to be completely screwed. I was pretty sure it was screwed from the get-go because Disney Marvel was going to Disneyfy it by giving it a PG-13 rating. As I have mentioned before with characters like Deadpool, there are just certain characters that cannot be properly done without an R rating, and Blade is definitely one of those. That they were doing this after having a proven formula from the Blade franchise beginning with 1998's Blade was dumbfounding. By that point, however, it was indeed par for the course with Kevin Feige and the MCU. We had already been through financial disasters that were Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and the Eternals, and creative disasters that were Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That Marvel would take such a fan favorite as Blade and completely neuter him was not a surprise. After all, look what they did to Loki, to Hawkeye, Kingpin, Moon Knight, Thor, and Daredevil. Despite protestations from Disney Marvel itself and their allies in the media, the MCU was well and truly on course to become the MCU by the time the Blade production began hitting its first speed bump. Will Michael Green be able to fix what has been so wrong with Blade for a long time now? We will see. He is the first writer they have had attached to the project that has inspired confidence since it took off. The fact that they have stuck with Yann Demange as the director is not promising. He has no really impressive work that screams, "Here! Here is a director at the top of his game, and well fitted to a comic book adaptation." No, instead he has done 2 movies that flopped and a bunch of television dramas like Secret Diary of a Call Girl, Criminal Justice, and a single episode of Lovecraft Country. It is another example of Marvel casting their directors rather than hiring them for their talents. And if the movie sucks, he will be used as a human shield when the studio, their media shills, and the Disney Marvel stands attack the real fans who criticize the movie for sucking. Will it suck? Who knows at this point? But movies with this much history in production hell rarely come out the other end as anything other than films that should have been thought out better before subjecting all involved to the failure that follows. Disney Marvel and Kevin Feige are desperate, however. Perhaps in that desperation, they might figure out how to pull their heads out of their asses long enough to do a proper Blade movie. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath either. That is all I have for this video. If you like what I do here, please like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and comment down below. It all helps the channel and is much appreciated. Part 3 of DC Comics on Film will be coming out shortly. Until then, tschüss.